Marxism. A word that strikes fear into the heart of the neoliberal. A word that fans the flame of revolution in the depths of the oppressed. It has pervaded political discourse since its inception, from Lenin to Russell Brand and other major players on the political stage. It has unequivocally made its mark on history. The theories of this man have evolved into one of the most influential ideologies of all time. Communism. But how did one philosopher analysing class struggle manage to spark an idea so influential? And to answer that, let's start with the man himself. Karl Marx, he's a pretty chill dude. Born in Prussia and later disowning the entire concept of belonging to a state, he spent most of his time chilling in London with all the other cool kids at the time. So him and his friend Engels, inspired by the idea of Hegel's and dialectics, put together their interpretation of the stages of society.
Learning can be so much fun.
According to Marx, the first stage is primitive communism. It's pretty much how it sounds: nomadic peoples with no concept of ownership, and anything they hunted or produced would be for themselves or the immediate tribe. As far as the hierarchy went, tribes would be led by whoever was the best warrior, battle to the death style, much like the Labour leadership election, come to think of it. Once people became settled and began producing more stuff for other people and agriculture became a thing, then class divisions and private property started to emerge. Now, this is what Marx called the slave society. This is where we have a ruling class and a slave class. The slave class have nothing, yet must labour and produce wealth for the ruling class, who own the slaves and the land. It's as a result of the system that the state evolves, as a means for the ruling class to take absolute control. Marx theorises that it's this unsustainable nature of a system of an insatiable need to conquer ever more slaves that lead to the decline and eventual collapse of such societies. The Roman Empire is a popular example of this. And so we arrive at stage 3. We should be familiar with this. It's feudalism, or Russia in the 18th century. After the collapse of the slave society, the aristocracy from that era established a feudal society, with monarchy or autocracy. Think of our lovely Tsars. In the system, there are still effectively two classes: the ruling aristocracy and the serfdom, who are effectively owned by the nobles or the state who own the land they work on. Marx hypothesised that a middle class would emerge from this, comprised of traders, merchants and manufacturers. As this group grew, they would demand things of the regime that would subvert the entire system, leading to what Marx called the bourgeois democratic revolution, whereby the middle class seek to govern for themselves and end up overthrowing the existing social order. Once the bourgeois have overthrown the feudal stage, we have a fourth stage: capitalism. There is yet still a class divide. The bourgeois and a small aristocracy form the ruling class, owning most of the wealth and means of production, and the rest form the proletariat, selling their labour to the bourgeois to survive with very little in return. Again, this system of capital is an economy based on endless growth. As the capital of the ruling class grows, so too does the prole. As the bourgeois are dependent on the labour of the workers, they need to employ more of them. However, whilst produce and net worth increases, this is largely taken by the bourgeois, and as is typical of a free market economy and is also true of physics, that which is already massive attracts more mass, so therefore the wealth pools and accumulates at the top of society and not being fairly distributed to those who have either earned it, deserve it or need it. So eventually the proletariat will realise this, and so comes a socialist revolution, a society comprised of industrial workers with the help of middle-class revolutionaries will overthrow their bourgeois masters. The basis of Marx's book, The Communist Manifesto. Workers of the world, unite, you have nothing to lose but your shackles. This brings about the fifth stage of socialism. So this period of socialism must start with the dictatorship of the proletariat, to basically sort out the system, quash any counter-revolutionary thoughts and get things going. This is a temporary measure, I swear, on Minan. So everyone's equal and everyone is entitled to a decent standard of living. The entire concept of class is abolished, and eventually stage 6 happens. The government just sort of fades away, like Leona Lewis, but with less bleeding love, more bleeding, just bleeding, full stop really. So at a stage full equality, and from each according to his ability, and to each according to his need. You work because you want to contribute to society, and not as a means of survival, which was present under the capitalist system.
Yeah, boy.